StayTru Moat. So StayTru is actually a play on words on the Hebrew word of StayTru Moat, which means the field of offerings. This area used to grow the temple offerings, I believe, when they would come and exchange money for crops that would get donated to the temples. That exchange would happen here. So when we would give our tithes to the priests in the temples from crops, a lot of it was coming here, which was truma, trumot, give your truma. And if you look in the Tanakh, in the 5 books, it's actually, after the 5 books, actually, there's an interesting wording of the word StayTru Moat. And we touched upon this a little bit last year. I don't know if everyone was at the lecture we had in Jerusalem together, but we kind of hinted to it, but this is an evolution of that conversation, because we're here now.
Right.
Exactly.
Great point.
And there's going to be a continuous evolution. 10 years from now, we're going to be high-fiving the past versions of ourselves about it. And right here in this location, there was a story, which we also spoke about, but now we're here, we have to tell it and explain to you why I think you're here. We didn't schlep you guys from Dimona just to come here and have a nice speech. We're here to do something.
Right. There you go.
This is, we're activating something. So now, you have in the Tanakh and the story, you had King Saul, right? He was on the mountains of the Gilboa, and the Philistines were coming in, made a circle around him. And King Saul said, I don't want to get captured by the Philistines. Why? They're going to take me and they're going to disgrace me. A king of Israel, they're going to, embarrass me, march me around naked and do all these things to me. And that's a disgrace onto the people of Israel, the God of Israel, and all of it. And so he said, so I owe it to the people to not allow that to happen. So what did he do, King Saul? Yeah, well, first he asked someone to kill him, but the guy said no. He wouldn't do it. And then I believe he put his sword in the ground and he fell on his own sword to end his life for the honor of the kingdom of Israel because he didn't want to get captured. And King David found out about this. He was heartbroken.
Yes.
And as we discussed last time we spoke also, that's a phenomenal thing that King David was heartbroken. Why? King Saul was trying to kill King David.
Right.
He was chasing after him. And King David was still so heartbroken, which shows the respect that we owe towards the leadership.
Right.
Whether or not we necessarily are with them or not, it is a serious thing to lead the people.
Principle.
Right. And you got to handle that diplomatically as well.
Great point.
And King David's standing on the Gilboa. We can look out the window and see where he was standing. And he says, well, he basically puts a curse on the valley. And in that verse of the curse, he says, StayTru Moat. The fields of offerings are going to be withheld. Which means this area is not going to give forth its bounty. This area is going to be reserved. And if you actually look over the last 2,000 years, this area was swamp and marshes. It was uninhabitable. You couldn't walk through without getting malaria. There were indigenous people, obviously you know how to live indigenously, right? There were indigenous people who knew how to survive up here, but it wasn't for the everyday human couldn't survive up here. It was actually a cursed land. And now I'm walking around and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it starting to flourish. But we're not there yet, We see that the people of Israel are in the land, but are the ways of Israel in the land yet? Are we acting as the Israelites would?
Right.
There's still some foreign culture that's still happening here. So I know, but something's happening, right?
Okay.
And so I don't think we brought you guys out here today just to look at some good nature and have a little high five conversation. We brought you up here because this is a significant location. Because if we're all saying we're from the people of Israel, then this place is very important to us, just as the place of the patriarchs are buried.
Yes.
Where Tiberias is, where the Sea of Galilee is, where Jerusalem is. We'll see where Jerusalem is. So I got everyone's sensitivities in my mind. This is also one of those locations. And when you see that we have one of our families, one of our brothers from the Village of Peace, who's now rooted himself in here, and you should believe that the family who's living here right now, we went through a lot of blood already, a lot of trials and tribulations. We've showed our cards and we've earned each other's trust. This is no nice cup of tea. We really went in there hard. And for me to see that you guys have now come here and planted yourselves, and as we mentioned last time, to follow your journey, your story from Chicago to Liberia, to Israel, to Tel Aviv, to the Negev, and now we're creeping up in here. So I know there's something happening, and I'm kind of sitting back and letting the universe take its course. I'm not saying I'm in control and this is how it's got. I have no clue how this is going to have to look like. But I know that the right people are showing up at the right time to do the right things together with love. Yes. And that is what's going to bring out the vision forth from here.
Come on, Rabbi.
So now, it's from the heart. It's from the heart. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. So now we're here, right? First, I want to tell just a little behind the story how we got here. It's actually an hour and a half, 2 hour story, so I'm going to try to fit it in about 2 or 3 minutes. I was reading a book once, and it was speaking about this concept in Hebrew called teshukah, and it means this desire, right? So it was saying that, sorry I have my back turned, so everyone has. I'll try to rotate slowly as I speak. It was saying that,
Rabbi.
yes.
Yeah, stand here.
Yes.
That's a good spot.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't mind the rotation.
Okay.
Okay.
In Chicago, they always say keep your back against the wall.
There's a lot to learn from the elders. So we say that the land and the rain have this relationship, but the rain desires to give the land its water more than the land wants the rain.
Wow.
That the mother calf has a desire to give the baby calf its milk more than the baby calf has a desire for the milk. And that same teaching says that the land of Israel wants its inhabitants to be on it more than the inhabitants want to be here. And it was saying that this teaching was saying that there's a desire from the heavens now to return us to the land more than we could ever imagine. We simply just don't know how to tap into that, really. And I was quoting before, it was a verse, I think in Psalms, where it says, may our handiwork be blessed. We say that humans, we don't get the blessings on us, right? We don't say, God, how come you didn't bless me? We get our blessings on our handiwork, what we do with our hands. So this piece of advice said, you gather your loved ones together who have unconditional love between each other, and if you have a desire to settle the land of Israel, create a vessel, create an entity, create something. Whatever you create, I promise it'll have a guaranteed success to settle the land. You will be returned. That is a formula almost. So I was reading and learning about that in the exile, and I said, this is a no-brainer. You got to get your group together. Who's in? Who's got love? We got to work together to do this. So I had a few of my close friends who had this desire. We got together, and we said, well, let's create an idea, whatever it was we thought of. We're going to go to Israel, we're going to get land. So we just got a car, we started driving around. I was going to all these kibbutzim and these moshavs, knocking on doors, saying, hey, you guys have distressed land. We're willing to bring some youth, some energy, maybe some help fundraising, we'll build it. A lot of bureaucracy. You have 20 people in this kibbutz meant for a few thousand. They each had 20 different ideas what they wanted this place to be. Meanwhile, they were all kind of at the end of their days, but they're still holding on to that ego. So I said, this is not the place for us. We kept moving around. But instead of getting, down on ourselves, like, man, it's not working out, or we should give up, we just kept saying, let's keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No door's going to shut for us.
That's it.
Yep. And we put the ball in God's court. We said, Creator of the universe, we believe you gave us this promise that we could return to the land, those who are sincere. And through a very miraculous story, we found a farmer in this neighborhood who was willing to let us send our lost souls, basically, because we had a lot of lost souls. So we were sending people to Israel just to be safe. People who didn't have a place to live, who needed a place to be, and they were sending them to this community. And they were working the land, but it's tough out here. It's survival mode out here also. It gets hot in the summer, and there's no movie theaters or anything, so to go from 0 to 60, from the exile to here, you got to really be cultured for it. But we found out there was a property down the block that was for sale, which we ended up getting. We have a lot of land out here, but as we mentioned, because of the weather, we can't necessarily see all of it, but we can try to get as much as we can. And we heard it was for sale, and I was a younger guy. I'm still a young guy, but I was much younger. And we said, I said, I'll take it. Done. I didn't have a dime to my name to do it. I mean, I had a few dimes to eat, but I didn't have the amount of money needed to buy a plot of land. But I said, we'll get it. And from there, we went on about a year and a half, very intense struggle and journey to figure out how to get that money to actually pay for the land. And it involved very I can't go into it too much right now, but a very strange story where it ended up the last minute because I got in contact with some tribes in Afghanistan who wanted to reach out. It led to me to meet someone else, and at the very last second, someone helped us out and put up a loan for us to buy this land. Yeah, I'm still humbled today by the story. One day when, I want to write it down and share it with everyone to its fullest extent, but everyone should know this wasn't like, I'm a businessman from New York who just rolled in and said, I saw a nice land, let me cut a check. This was a struggle of years and tears and journey to get where we are right now. So we got the land, thank God, the last minute before we lost it to someone else. And I let people start showing up rent-free. So I'm not going to charge rent, Can you imagine marrying someone and saying to the woman, well, how are you going to start making money from me? You better hit that streets. She may look at you like you're nuts if she was raised well, Thank God. She may look at you nuts because the opposite is the husband's got to say, hey, how could I help you? How could I take care of you? I mean, the wife, in certain cultures, she could sew and do all these things, but she's got to love to do that. She can't feel like she's being forced to do it. So I feel like the land of Israel is like a wife. It's a feminine, beautiful entity. So how am I going to start? People say to me, well, how the land's going to make money for you? I said, that's a very disrespectful question. What do you mean how the land's going to start making money for me? What am I going to do for the land? That's the question. So I didn't feel like the proper thing to do was take people who want to return to the land and charge them rent to come live on the land. Because that's a little like I'm middleman and God, like I'm the middleman between God and his people. You don't want to do that, you don't want to bark up that tree. So I said, you guys come, you could live for free, and you're going to work the land. And so for the past few years, I've had different people coming and stopping by our other plot of land where they're staying and living. And now, thank God, we got another beautiful family over there who are not here today with kids. And they brought goats and chickens and sheep and all these things. So we're holding down the fort over here properly, so to say. And that was a few-year journey. But now we're at a point where we've got land in this mystical location where there's some type of curse that has to be lifted and turned into a blessing from ancient times. So what are we going to do now? What do we do going forward? And this is where this partnership is going to be very crucial. When I look at the Village of Peace, and when I look at what you guys have done down there, I'm blown away. I say every single Jewish community in Israel needs to stare at you guys, and stare and continue staring, and then study a little bit, and then stare some, and then learn. Because what you guys have done is one of the most beautiful things I can see around the whole entire world. How you've locked arms in love. There was no hunger in your community, There's no family who falls through the cracks, really, unless they want to fall through the cracks. But there's no family who falls through the cracks. You got your healthy systems of living, your working out, your exercise, your mind, your body, your soul. That's all happening. And that's a big disconnect from humanity on the land. So what I'm here to do now is to say, we got this space that needs to be turned into this blessing for humanity. You guys kind of cracked the code already 40, 50, 30 years ago a little bit on how to do that as humans. And now we got to have to figure it out together. And it was mentioned before in the speech, we didn't finish the formula yet. It was just said, we don't know how much vitamin C we really need yet. We don't know all these things. So this right here is the incubation center. This is a testing center. This is an open space with no ego, no rules of governance that's going to stop creativity. This is a place where we're going to try to test out technologies. And I'm going to be very specific right now of which type of technologies I'm talking about that can liberate humanity. Did anyone, I gave a speech about this once, I'm not sure if anyone caught it. Anyone here familiar with Nikola Tesla? Right.
He's a man.
Homeboy.
Right. He did it well. So what did he try to do? Free wireless electricity, right? But they say there was no one like Nikola Tesla since the people of ancient Egypt, right? So then you got to raise some eyebrows. What are they talking about? What are the ancient people of Egypt were doing? And I actually think it was the ancient people of Israel. Well, we'll get into that quickly right now for a second, not to waste everyone's time. We're extending the conversation a little longer right now. The ancient people of Israel had this pyramid, right? And they lined the inside of the pyramid with quartz crystal. And they used to have these tunnels that would flow up air into the inside of the Great Pyramid, and they used to tune the air basically that would flow up. And we know scientifically, quartz crystal, if you vibrate it at a certain frequency, it secretes electricity. So now you start saying, whoa, were they vibrating quartz crystal back then in ancient Egypt? You look at someone says to me, the Exodus wasn't proved by archaeology. I say, are those the same archaeologists that don't tell you why the pyramids are lined with quartz crystal and they tell you a king was buried in there? Well, those guys, no, we don't trust them, So I'm not having it. So we have to redefine the narrative right now of what history was talking about. That's our job, as the civilians of planet Earth. And So what were they doing with this, vibrating quartz crystal? Why are the ancient Egyptians doing this? Today, scientifically, they proved that if you send certain electronical pulses to certain parts of the brain, you actually open up dormant parts of the mind where you can go, long periods of time without eating, without sleeping, on high levels of consciousness. That was one thing maybe that was happening. You could obviously lift heavy things with electricity and cut things to precision that we can't cut like today's precision. So I'm looking at that narrative, I'm saying, okay, you got this guy Nikola Tesla, lived in 1900, financed by J.P. Morgan, pulled their financing and they couldn't monetize his patent, and now we say this was happening in ancient Egypt. So I'm trying to look into the story a little bit. Then all of a sudden you see the Israelites leave ancient Egypt, right? And what's the first thing they do when they get to a desert? They build the Ark of the Covenant. Now the Ark of the Covenant, what is its makeup? What is its properties, right? You got two metals with a wood in between. So that's basically two conductors with a non-conductor in between them. And you got these two angels, cherubim on top, right? Exactly. This is how a capacitor is built. You got two rods connected to two different metals with a wood in between. If I was an electrician reading the Bible, I'd say, wait a minute, you got to press pause right now, You got a lot of rabbis reading it today, but they're not electricians. So they're reading it and they see an Ark of the Covenant. That's a little metaphysical thing. I say, this may not be so, yes, it had its metaphysical aspect, but this is a very physical, technology-oriented system. And it happened minutes after we left the place that was mastering this type of technology. So something going on here, right? And so all of a sudden I say, okay, the ancient Israelites were producing electricity for sure. What were they doing with it? I don't know. Maybe they were destroying walls of Jericho. Maybe they were taking it to war with them. Maybe they're opening up dormant parts of the mind. That's speculation. We could leave that for when world peace comes. We could have that conversation over a cup of tea.
Babylonian Valley is a speculation.
Yeah. No, so
Continue.
I think we know for sure the basics of it, but the mind, the exploration, what parts of the mind you could open up, where that's going to take you. I think that's
That's it.
yeah. This is the next frontier.
Don't see.
Yeah. I appreciate it. God help us to explore the mind like we're trying to explore outer space right now. And big waste of money. So it's in here that's where it's all happening. That's just that holograph out there. So more or less, we got the scenario now. Fast forward into now. So I say we were close. Nikola Tesla was so close to the redemption of humanity. Scaling this type of technology is really what it's about. And so now we're here on our property. We're going to walk around a little bit, minimally here, and we're going to walk around, maybe take a bus drive past later on. We have to perfect certain things to move forward. We need to perfect electricity systems. We need to perfect food systems. So right now, I have, for example, in my house, a dehumidifier. I actually had it in Jerusalem. I had a lot of mold on my walls when I first moved here, a lot of mold on my walls during the seasons. And I was scrubbing it off and this, and it kept coming back, and this is not right. So I got a dehumidifier. I plug it into the wall, and it sucks out all the water from the air. So every single day, I open this box, and I have a thing full of water, and I pour it out. And I'm thinking to myself, I keep pouring out this water. This is water out of thin air. And the whole world has this water out of thin air. But all I needed was electricity to capture it. So what do you do with water? First of all, when you got water, you have everything. We have outside in the house, we'll take a look at a small little system called the aquaponics system. We're growing fish in our front yard right here. We've got some carps that we can look at. And we're not eating the carbs necessarily. I know everyone here is on that vegan diet, which I'm trying my hardest to be on right now. I respect it. Yeah. So inspired by your community. I'm like 7-8 months in right now. And, I have a gefilte fish here and there. I don't know if you guys know it's a European fish. But I'm working strong on it right now. So we got our carp. Now you're taking the water from the carp and we're pumping it into vegetables, green, growing off the ground, from the water, from the nutrients of the fish, filtering that water and sending it back to the fish clean. And so I'm saying we took space in the middle of nowhere, and now we have fish and plants, and that's it. And for me, I'm like, how could there be poverty in the world? How could there still be supermarkets where we're eating poison, right?
Right.
It's a backwards thing still to me. And what it is we need very few things. We need electricity, and then we can get water, and then with the water we get our food, and then that's it. This is the simplest formula in the world. But unfortunately, there's a few businessmen right now who that's not a convenient formula for. And you're gonna bark up that tree one day, and it's gonna be an issue. But I think that the Creator of the universe planned it accordingly, that we're in such a bad system now, so when the truth comes, we'll really appreciate it for what it's worth. We've been starved so long from sanity. It's the most sane thing in the world that every, we got public libraries across America, right? Where's our public greenhouses, right? You can make me read books that give your biased opinion on something. So like, we see that we're already in a position where there's a give back, where we can have this. And what has to happen here is we have to perfect these systems. We have to perfect electricity production in the most innovative way possible, water filtration, and food production. And once we do that, it's a no-brainer. Should I tell you why? Because you guys already, and myself on my own end, we've created a global network. You're not in Dimona. You're global. You're all over Africa. You're all over America. And from there, I'm doing my work in Afghanistan and the Silk Road. I got Kyrgyzstan. I got tribes in India. We have together between us a whole team. And later today, I'm going to present, when we go to the lecture, I'm going to present the actual platform to try to quantify this. But we have the situation on lockdown, basically. We have the greatest asset ever, which is the global family being formed. And as was mentioned before, we don't need to discuss religion right now, because that's a luxury conversation. How could you discuss religion when the world is crumbling and dying around you? Did the Messiah come? Did he not come? Well, I don't think how that's relevant when we can start making food for the people. Let's feed them. Let's all get full. We're all stressed out. Let's talk about it, and then we can come to these conclusions. And I bet you the creator of the universe will step in and intervene and let us know what he wants to have happen anyway sooner or later. But we have to do our part. So what basically, to summarize is, I believe that this place is an auspicious place. It's not a simple location where we're trying to get tourism here so we can make some money and have a good life. That is not what we want to do here. That may be a byproduct of it, so we can give people information and education. We have to work together right now to crack the code right now. Because we can't go another year of having nice speeches and talks without having serious action happening. We need to know what it is that we're going to scale to the people of the world. And I know you guys, Dimona, have been to Africa and you've helped them out with agriculture and you've built them up and you've created businesses out there, and that is exactly what had to happen. But now we've got to jump into the future of technology and say, how can we be more innovative? They say an invention is just taking two things that have never been combined before and combining them for the first time. So we just have to start inventing things, right? It's not over. The job hasn't been finished yet. And up here is a canvas for all of us, all of our family, all of our friends. And everyone could expect to see on this property and the property we're going to peek at a little later, these systems coming. We got these geodesic domes. How do we build our homes of the future? What's the most sustainable structure that we can make, the most cost effective? How do we live? These have to be addressed immediately. And when we can do that, we got to scale it to the world. Now I'm going to get a little political for a second over here. I don't know how many people still hold dual citizenship and voted in the past elections. But everyone saw who won.
That's right.
And I'm sure
My
everyone...
candidate.
Yeah. Huh?
My candidate.
You liked him?
Oh, we supported him.
Good. I know it's a mixed topic. I don't want to insult him. But everyone's jaw was dropped. But I'll tell you, from a personal standpoint, there was a new ambassador appointed to Israel from the American ambassador. Happens to be, I grew up in his house. The new ambassador to Israel from the new presidential team. Wonderful people. And we also have people in our community who actually are very close with the new president-elect. Not that I know him personally, but I can guarantee, from my experience and the people I know involved, that they're going to have a vested interest in helping this unification that I'm speaking of. And this reminds me of Cyrus, right? He was the Persian ruler who gave Ezra and Nehemiah permission to return to... Gave...
Isaiah 45.
Exactly.
I've been reading.
This is very crucial for today's times. And I'm going to wrap it up here because we say, and the Torah, the books, the scriptures, uses the word in Hebrew Mashiach when speaking about Cyrus, a Gentile.
That's right. That's right.
Why? Because what he did for the people of Israel. He had that status of anointed placed on him. And I'm under the impression that we could be in an era again where there is going to rise a man who is going to set things straight and say, you know what? We're going to do all of our wicked things that we've been continuing to do, but there's one thing we can't do is we can't mess with Israel or its people. We can only help them. And right now the gates are kind of, who can come, who can't come to Israel. And you guys are in. You've made it here. You're having kids here. They're going to the armies here. We're coming together as this in this unity. This is part of the prophecy. So to cut it short, because we got a lecture a little bit later today. Please, I'm honored that everyone should be here. My words are sometimes a little scattered, but I'm sure everyone here is smart enough to deduce what I was trying to get across. And we can enjoy the beautiful nature of the property for a little bit, and you know, read in this redemption when it comes in its due time. Amen.